Man, that would be an awesome revenge to a school bully. It's like, I stole your identity and ruined your credits.
Bet you didn't think of that when you were a senior in high school.
Yeah,
I was going to come back.
Filed a bunch of fake tax forms under your name. The IRS would be investigating.
Dude, that's...
Good luck.
It's like you have 10 businesses now.
Genius.
Look at that.
That was the most genius revenge plot I've heard in my life.
Yeah, that would be good.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Only the Strongest, the only Capoeira podcast that actually has some genuinely helpful advice and did have an opening joke, but already used it in a recording that we decided to scrap. So I'm here just speaking to you straight. I don't have no jokes this episode. We're not going to be funny. We're not going to be entertaining at all. It's just going to be pure facts and nothing else. So strap in.
Wait, we're supposed to be entertaining?
Like a long ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be long and boring.
Yep. Get ready, kids.
It's going to be like imagine if you listened to a Capoeira radio show on NPR. That's what this hour is going to be.
And why doesn't that exist yet? Come on.
Get it together,
Man, that would
NPR.
be sweet.
Get it together.
Yeah. Well, we are not on NPR. We are Varal, Azul, Bonzinho, and we're here to talk about getting started in Capoeira and specifically making it through your first week of classes. So we're going to talk about everything from, how you even find Capoeira to like getting through your first 2 or 3 classes or so. And down the road, I think we'll bring this back a little bit to talk more about some thoughts and advice we have when you're a brand new beginner. I realize that even though we've been a podcast basically for as long as I can remember now, or at least it seems like it, we haven't really spoken about just the completely grassroots, naive, bright-eyed, brand new beginners. And this is a good opportunity. This, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether that is you or whether that is the person that you need to help teach in Capoeira.
Yeah, or if you're trying to bring some friends on or just have advice for people who are joining your studio to try to, enjoy it more. Maybe we'll give some nuggets of information, but maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah, because we don't promise to be useful. We just promise to be factual.
We just promise to be here. We just promise to be here.
Yeah, we promise to take up an hour of your life that you can't get back. How about that? I don't know how representative this is of the actual world of Capoeira, but every now and again I drop in on the old Capoeira subreddit and I look around, and I've been seeing every time I come in there, there's always a new post on the order of, I just started Capoeira and I have a question about blah, blah, blah. Or I'm looking for classes in my area, blah, blah, blah. Or I used to do soccer, or I used to do football. Now I want to try Capoeira. Is it going to be difficult? Or I'm 40 years old, but I'd like to get in. Is it going to be hard? There's all these questions about, what can I expect? And is it a good idea for me to do Capoeira? So we thought we'd try to give an approximate idea of what sort of where you can set your expectations, what things will be like, how it's going to impact you physically, emotionally, spiritually, when your instructor sleeps with your partner.
Whoa, wait, what?
And if you can't handle that, you should not start Capoeira. Let's from the very beginning.
Rule number 1.
Let's just make that clear.
Oh,
yeah, if you don't have an open marriage, you can't be a beginner at Capoeira. I'm sorry.
Rule number 1: prepare to be cucked. That's just.
No, we will talk about maybe we'll talk about how to identify if your instructor is sleazy or not. I think most people probably have a pretty good radar for this dude's pretty sleazy. Mm-hmm. But there's some things in Capoeira that show up often enough that it's worth pointing out. But before we even get to that, let's just talk about getting started at all, like getting to your very first class. And Man, I don't know if you guys have found anything on the internet that's any kind of central repository of capoeira schools, like the Google Maps of just capoeira schools. I don't think it exists. I haven't found anything.
No, it doesn't.
All right. Yeah. No, it does not. Okay.
No, it's actually pretty hard to find them. And in my experience in the past, traveling somewhere, trying to find classes, it was kind of a crapshoot. A lot of what you'll find on Google is either not really related to capoeira, or it is old enough that, nobody has even heard of that place in like 5 years when you go by. So, I mean, it can be very difficult to find capoeira in an area, and yeah.
Well, especially, I don't know if you've ever tried just typing wherever you are capoeira in your Google Maps. A lot of times it pulls up just other random martial arts schools, because somewhere they've tagged the word capoeira as something they would provide just to kind of do a catch-all on their search optimization.
Yeah.
So that also throws you for a loop, where you're calling them and then getting thrown off, or, not able to, you got to go through more calls than you would trying to find the actual studio.
Yeah, as we've discussed before, the people who run, capoeira schools are not necessarily the most like tech savvy or business friendly. Mm-hmm. So, their number that they list is probably just like a personal phone number. And if it's not, picked up all the time, then you may miss an opportunity there. So, yeah, it can be tricky.
Yeah, this isn't capoeira, but when I first moved up to Montana, the town that I was living in at the time, I was looking for jiu-jitsu. Well, first I looked for capoeira, obviously zero, and then found a jiu-jitsu school, and they didn't have any like contact stuff on the website. And then I eventually found buried in like a sub-footer a phone number that was like, get in touch with us. And I called the phone number, and it rings a couple times, and then a guy answers, hello? And I was like, hello? And he's like, yeah, who is this? This is Evan. It was such an awkward encounter, but it was like, it was the dude. It was the lead instructor. And once we got past that, he was able to give me some information. So just prepare yourself maybe to do a little bit of digging. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be like finding freaking CrossFit or something, or yoga classes where you can just trip off the sidewalk and fall into a yoga class.
It's happened before.
Most likely have to jump through a couple of hoops.
Yeah. Well, can I pose a quick question that is related to you two?
Please do.
This situation, what if somebody searches for capoeira in their city and finds maybe 2 or 3 different legitimate capoeira schools, just different groups? How do they go about deciding where they want to train, or just
That's
right off
question.
The bat?
That is a good
How
question.
do they know the difference and what they even are going to be and where to go?
Yeah, to the beginner of capoeira, they're not going to know differences between reputations of schools, different styles of capoeira, or anything in that matter. So I really think, as a beginner, it's important to try to identify what you at least want to get out of it at that time, and try to meet that need with whatever school. So I would say, try all 3 of them, but that's probably not going to happen. Somebody's probably not going to commit, 3 weeks of experimenting each week with each one. So honestly, I'd say the one off the top of my head that you think the classes jive with your schedule, you think looks professional enough, and that looks like what you want to get out of capoeira. So I would, at the very least, maybe try and find some like videos or games of each school and try to figure out which one inspires you the most. So that's probably going to keep you training longer.
Yeah, that's a really good call. Thinking about what you want to get out of it and then trying to align yourself with the correct school. If they have a Facebook page attached, or like an Instagram or something, and they have some photos and videos of actual classes, that's a good way to do some quick research. And then if not, maybe be willing to at least say, okay, I'm gonna find the school that's best for my schedule, but I'm not gonna fully commit myself. Like, I'm not gonna just do one intro class, and if I don't like it, I give up on capoeira forever. I swear a blood oath that I will never hold a bidding bow in my life. Give yourself like, okay, I'll at least give this 2 chances. Like, I'll try, say 2 different schools. If you happen to know somebody who does capoeira, especially if they've been in the sport for more than a few years, it's a small enough world that they will have probably heard of at least one of those schools, and they might be able to give you some inside info. But if you're totally on the outside, then I think Bonzinho's advice, 100% nailed it. Just follow that. Play that section of the podcast yourself over and over again as you're searching for
tattoo it on yourself. Just quote my name.
It's like 2-point font all the way across the body.
I was going to say something earlier. I think other than Google, I think honestly Facebook is a really good capoeira resource for finding places to train, and it's easier once you have kind of a network of people that you kind of friend through Facebook. That's honestly the reason why I still have a Facebook, is for capoeira connections and having, the ability to post somewhere or find a message group. But honestly, Facebook is a better way to usually find capoeira. If you can go, to the Facebook page of whatever group you're trying to get a hold of, honestly, posting in there, you'll probably get some of their students or their instructor to respond to you and give you a lot more information than you might be able to find online.
Yeah, good call. All right, let's assume that you've found a place, you've gotten in touch with them, they responded, you have an actual date set up. Some schools will have a verified intro program that's like, hey, you come for 2 weeks and you get a certain number of classes, and that's the intro package. Some schools are just going to throw you right in a group class. Yeah, man, come on Tuesday at 6:00. We'll see you then. And, good luck at that point. So depending on kind of what process they have, it might be a little more of an uphill battle. But I think that's your first indication of how are things going to go, is like, does this instructor seem to care that I'm going to show up to class next week sometime? Because some instructors that's not their forte. They're not going to come across as very friendly to somebody brand new. And that's just something you need to think of, consider for yourself. Am I willing to work a little bit harder to make a connection with this person in the studio? Or even like, you just don't care about that. You don't mind if the instructor is not going to value your presence.
I would say really try not to let that put you off, because capoeira is tricky as an instructor. You have a lot of people that come in and then you'll never see again. So putting in that effort to try to, make everyone feel like they're the only student in the room is probably exhausting some people. And I wouldn't say it's indicative of it being a good school or not in a lot of cases. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a good point, Case. I concede that one. And also, from the instructor's point of view, I've had so many people say, hey, I'll be there Monday, and then you just never hear from them again. Like, that happens a very high percentage of the time. So, good call. Why don't we talk about the actual first class? What they can expect from that?
Maybe going to talk about. I think a lot of the questions I've seen on the subreddits are, questions based on previous, physical experiences and physical activities and how they relate to capoeira. And maybe we should touch on that for kind of what to expect going into it.
Yeah. I feel like whenever I had brand new students, the ones that had the easiest time following along and learning everything you showed them were going to be dancers or gymnasts before all other sports. Those ones had the easiest time. So if that's the kind of background you're coming from, it'll be really fun and easy, to kind of pick up the sport in a day.
Yeah, I think...
Yeah, most likely.
I can definitely usually tell what the background of some people are in a broad sense based on how they do in their first couple weeks or month. I will say, I think, dancers and gymnasts pick up movements and kind of I don't want to say choreography, but, putting the capoeira choreography together and different movements of very odd,
interacting with
odd interactions that you wouldn't get in other sports. But I think they struggle with other things like mindset and trying to work through, intensity in the hoda and things like that in other ways. So I think there's benefits to everything that you could do, but I think all put my foot in the sand and say that I think nobody's going to be perfect at everything. I think everybody's going to have to grow at probably more things than you're good at in the beginning. So I wouldn't put any limitation on, having full experience in a bunch of martial arts or nothing going forward from Capoeira. So yeah, I think Capoeira can be for anybody, regardless of what your past experience is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're coming at it from a perspective of like, hey, I hated gym class in school. I haven't done any physical activity for the last 10 years. I barely even like to go outside. If I ever see any sunshine, I shy away from it. I close the curtains. That's fine. You will still be okay in Capoeira. Like, there will be things for you to do in Capoeira, and you will be okay. We've talked so much about how broad Capoeira is and that there's always something for everybody. Keep in mind that you're only going to be there for, an hour, maximum probably 2 hours. You may not get to the thing that is for you in that hour, that first time that you show up. So you may not like it, and that's fine. I would say try to give it. I would hope that every student would, if I had my druthers, every student who started Capoeira would give it 2 weeks to get a chance to do a little bit and to start to build a tiny bit of literacy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not just totally confused and they walk away going, well, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But really what they don't like is that state of confusion. But I understand. Like, I do things and I'm like, no, I'm never
That's what I'm going to tell the next person that tries to leave my studio, shut it down. Oh, no. You like the Capoeira, you just don't like the confusion. I can solve that for you. Come back in.
Yeah, we should do like an intro package that's like a 2 weeks thing, but it has a really strong negative incentive. If you walk away before this 2 weeks are up, like, we donate money to a neo-Nazi party in your name.
Oh, yeah.
So you better stick around.
Forever on your name.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I like it.
Exactly.
I like it.
I would say also expect to be a little bit confused. I think if you go into it knowing that things are going to be difficult and that you're not going to necessarily understand what's going on some of the time, especially if the instructor is using some Portuguese, that's going to be a little bit hard. If you go in there with that already in your head, I think you'll have a much better time. If you are the sort of person who gets very stressed out when you don't know what it is you're supposed to do next, I would say that's the time to like try to calm yourself down and be like, this is a weird ass art form that is taught in a different language. It's going to have fucking takedowns and music in it.
Right.
And I'm just going to breathe and be okay. It's something that I think if you can manage your expectation about that, you'll have a much better time in the first couple of classes.
Yeah, you're going to struggle. Capoeira is a lot. It is, it's music, it's dance, it's, takedowns, kicks, acrobatics, and all of that, wrapped into like a meta game in itself within the studio and academy and the culture of Brazil. So I think it's a lot to be able to grasp, and I think you just have to go into it, knowing you're probably not going to get the full context of everything for a long time, not even in the first, 2 weeks, month.
Yeah, I feel like the thing you two are a little bit skipping over is that what Capoeira is based in this beautiful Brazilian culture where people are so open and welcoming and warm and genuine that most studios have that within their student base already. So even if you're taking your first class and you're confused or frustrated or don't know, everybody is so happy you're there. They don't care if you can't even do one kick. Like, they're just excited to have somebody new. Not like that, but like in the, to kind of bring into the fold. I feel like Capoeira is such a almost family-like community. They're so warm and welcoming to new people. So 9 out of 10 studios you can fall back on. There's super nice people there that will help you while you're trying your first class and make it really fun.
Yeah,
agreed.
Nobody cares how stupid you look. And you're going to look
That's
stupid.
That's true. No one cares.
I mean, we might as well talk about how stupid you'll look since we're on the emotional part of your first day.
Okay.
How to cope with this. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Our teacher used to say that the first way to get good at capoeira was learn how to look stupid in front of your friends, which is really hard when you care about the opinions of your friends. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you have to just let that go and just remember that, like everybody's been there already. Everybody's looked even more stupid than you. That if you've been in capoeira for a while, you've seen some of the stupidest things on the entire planet. I've seen some just ridiculous, dumb ass, stupid bullshit bachizados. It was always like, well, life cannot top this thing that I just observed. So don't even worry about it. If you could just let that go, you'll do great. You will start learning so much faster. But I think also you'll have a much better time in that first class. And Azul is absolutely right that 9 out of 10 studios are going to be super welcoming. That's the other good strength of capoeira. It has so many things. It attracts a pretty broad spectrum of people. And so, there's going to be somebody in that class that you can connect with for sure.
Yeah. I think some classes do, beginner only, and you'll be in a class with other beginners. Other class or other studios are just going to do, an all levels class most of the time. I think both can be really good for development. So I can't say I prefer one or another or would prefer one or another. I think they both have their pluses and minuses. And in general, like the community is just going to be welcoming of having new people there.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Mm-hmm. If you show up your first class, let's say it's a group class, all beginners, and the instructor has you do a lot of ginga by yourself, should you come back for a second class? What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. I don't think it's effective, but I do know people who, think that, the ginga is kind of the base and they want to establish this base before they kind of add anything onto it. I don't think that's indicative of a bad studio or necessarily a bad teacher.
No, but if you went to
and if they learned that way, I wouldn't say that should deter you away from capoeira.
That's like you going and taking a break dancing class and just learning the 6-step for an hour straight. And maybe that's exactly what they do. But you would be kind of sick of it. I think we're a little biased. I would say if there was more than one studio for sure in the area, that's when you go, okay, maybe I should try what they would do their first day and see, it's different.
I would give it the Varal rule. You
got
to try 2 classes.
2 weeks.
You got to try 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
I would give it another chance, but I can't say, yeah.
What do you think, Varal?
I have such a philosophical disagreement with the idea that the ginga should be paramount in capoeira training. I'm not defending the Sukau method where you don't teach the ginga at all. And not to attack him when he's not here. We'll have him back sometime to explain why he hates the ginga so much. But I just think if you're listening to this and you're not totally sure what we're talking about, it is a common stereotype that when an instructor gets a new student in, they set the new student aside to work on their own on just 1 or 2 movements for the majority of the class, all by themselves, while the instructor goes and attends to the rest of the class and is like, okay, this sequence we've been working on for the last month, blah, blah, blah. They don't know how to incorporate that new student into the class. I personally would be outsies. There's no way I'm coming back for a second class at that. I think that if there's only one capoeira school in your area, then you probably you should find some courage and go back for a second class because maybe it was just a bad day. But I would never fault anyone who said, they stuck me in the corner and I did the ginga for 40 minutes. And so I never came back. I'd be like, good on you, man.
Yeah.
Good work.
I'm a little torn because I don't want to turn anybody away that could, add to the capoeira family. But at the same time, it's not a good way to teach it. And any good instructor will find a way to incorporate that new student with whatever they're teaching that day and find something that's attainable that they can work with other people and try something else. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think there are schools out there that have developed good capoeiristas using that same method. So, can't say yay or nay.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's tough.
If you have the mental fortitude to be able to Jenga for just straight for a month, then maybe that's for you.
I don't know if any three of us have the mental fortitude to do that.
No, I don't think I do.
I don't.
Their lower backs would give within like 3 minutes. Nobody can Jenga an hour, let alone their first day. Their muscles will seize up.
Right.
Which leads me to
make a YouTube video.
I did want to say that for those, I don't know if we're going to address this, but people that are using the, hey, I'm 40 and can't blah, blah, blah. Hey, I've got this knee injury. I don't know if Capoeira will work or not. I feel like it's really the individual's determination and you can overcome any physical ailment. And Capoeira is probably the best physical activity that caters to that. What's the word for that? It's so adaptable to your strengths physically, strengths and weaknesses that, if you have something that you feel like would normally hold you back, it's even more a reason why you should try Capoeira because it's just so broad and adaptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the caveat, I think that it's not adaptable immediately.
Yeah, yes.
It will take some time, and and
your climb might be hard.
It is adaptable. We've all seen, we've all seen people with all kinds of crazy body types be successful in Capoeira, but you may have a little bit of a harder road to till. If you're generally kind of inactive and this is like, hey, I just want to get back into shape, that's something I would, tell the instructor, like, this is what I'm hoping to get out of this class, but also kind of preps them for sort of, okay, who exactly am I dealing with here? And how can I adapt the class to help them out a little bit? That same thing if you have an injury of some kind, or you have like a lingering thing, or you're like, dude, I've had like 13 concussions. I just can't have another concussion. It's like, all right, cool. Good to know. All right. But also I would say it's a 50-50 chance that the Capoeira studio will ask you that. I think that's a common question in like a lot of gyms. They'll say like, okay, are you dealing with any injuries? Capoeira doesn't really believe in injuries. Capoeira believes in Capoeira. And so I would just let your instructor know up front, like, hey, I'd like to come to class on Tuesday. Great, I'll be there. Also, I have a bad left knee that is completely rigid. I can't bend it at all.
Yeah, 100%. You have to tell your teacher
how we work with that.
Yeah, what issue you have, prior to any class. And that goes for any sport you're going to pick up.
But I think Capoeira is actually really attainable for people who have, those like ailments or injuries or even disabilities. And I've seen, like Evan said, I think the road to kind of climb is going to be a bit tougher, but there's a place for you in Capoeira. Like I've seen people play, like you don't even have to be able to Jenga in Capoeira to play the game or to contribute to the Roda or in general. Man.
Just that statement is another podcast argument.
Sure. But I don't know. I've seen games played with no Jenga.
No,
you
right.
can do it.
You're absolutely
and
right.
There's a lot of things that you could do to enjoy and play and like contribute to the sport without having to use some key function that other people have. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But I think a lot of those ailments, through training Capoeira will be like it's maybe one of the best things as almost a physical therapy because there's just so much strength, flexibility, and mobility that you develop through Capoeira that I think other sports lack.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for sure. All right. Why don't you guys want to talk about the end of the class and like, going home and staying healthy and not dying?
Okay, wait. First thing, do you get in the Roda on your first day? Recommendations.
I think that's entirely like studio and person dependent. I know some teachers who are they're gonna make it really easy for you to hop into the Roda. You won't even realize that that's really what you're doing. And then I know other places where it's like, oh my God, I'd rather fight a grizzly bear right now than get into that Roda and look like a goddamn dumbass like I know I'm going to.
Yeah. And that's on the studio.
So just Yeah, just try to have a good time, and if you get in the hada at the end of the class, great, good for you. You're on the right path.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's fine. You'll be on the path to also. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I think the end of class, again, just trying to set some expectations. Most instructors are going to check in with you, make sure you're doing okay, and then say like, okay, so our next class is tomorrow at 6. Does that work for you? But some of them aren't. And some people are just not good at talking to other people. As an instructor who has been there, like the last thing I want to do at the end of class is check in with the brand new beginner because I don't want to have to have another conversation, you know? And so if no one checks in with you, go and talk to the instructor a little bit. It shouldn't be your job to do that, but if it may be, and so just go and check in with them again and talk to them about like, I'd like to come back on this day or whatever. Like make a plan so that you commit yourself to coming back to another class, because it's really easy to have a really, really good time and just think like Capoeira is the most awesome thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. And then the next day you wake up and you're sore and you're tired, and then you have all these other things going on in your life, and you're like, well, okay, I'll go to class tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, you're like, well, I'll go to class tomorrow. And then before you know it, you've never started training Capoeira. So make a plan if you can to kind of pre-commit yourself to something. And that way you're already making the decision for your future self. Like, cool, I'm coming back to class on Thursday. Decision's already made. Here we go.
And you weren't lying. You will be uniquely sore after Capoeira class. Almost everybody.
You're sore in muscles you didn't know you had.
Right. So definitely prepare for that. You're probably going to go... Most new people overdo it hardcore. If they haven't been doing any physical activity, they're excited to have fun in class, but work out way harder than they have for a long time. And so then they don't like physically feel like they even can train for like 3 more days. So yes, they might miss that second class just for that reason. So pace yourself if you're that new person, and try to do what you can to recover your body to be able to go again sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We sound like we're giving bedroom advice. Like, all right, so most people, when they haven't, in a while, they're going to go way too hard. And then you're going to be sore in all these weird places. But then, if you just take a moment and you relax, you'll be ready to go again in a little while.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Basically.
Well, it's good advice either way, whether we're doing Capoeira or we're doing sex talk here.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you're coming into it cold turkey from not doing anything else, try not to do, I think back-to-back classes is a recipe to try to, get injured. Mm-hmm. But I think, most people do every other day for a couple days a week. Mm-hmm. And, really as much as you can make it, it's just going to increase your experience by going there and increase the fun that you have.
So, if you're really one of those A+ students, you will go even if you're too sore to train much and hang out and try and play a pandero or, just chill with everybody.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal within the sport, so that wouldn't be wrong or weird to, just go and observe if you're too sore to train.
Yeah, if you... people would understand if you're too sore, if you're new to Capoeira, and, if you can... muscle through like 75%, but maybe like the last or the middle 25% of the class is just, I don't know, too hard for you, then, sitting to the side and watching, but still kind of observing and gathering all that is still useful. And I don't think anybody would fault you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but do let the teacher know, like, hey, I'm just a little overwhelmed, or like, dude, my body's going to fall apart. Like my freaking arm is going to fall off if I have to do another Ketogenies. Can I just watch for a bit?
Mm-hmm.
It's not as good to just stop and walk to the side of the room and just sit down and watch at that point. Like the teacher at that point is going to be like, oh shit, something is wrong.
Be vocal about it.
Tell them ahead of time, yes.
It's going to be awkward. Yeah, just let them know. And then for sure, I think everyone can empathize with that. All of us have been there.
Mm-hmm.
When you get home, you're hopefully still psyched about Capoeira. this is a good time to do a little bit of research if you want to. Like, this is way beyond the Call of Duty. But if you want to look up a little Brazilian history, maybe check in, see what, like what system of government does Brazil use?
Watch Only the Strong.
Why is it that they speak Portuguese when the rest of the continent speaks Spanish? All that stuff, like, it'll all help you in your capoeira career. And you may as well, like, get started on that homework
you go home
right away, because you're going to have to do it at some point.
Find videos of kicks and learn them ahead of the next class. It's like reading the chapter ahead before you show
up. Or pop
up.
on your favorite podcast, Only the Strongest.
Yeah,
give that a listen while you go to sleep.
Yeah. We should put out a whole line of like, subliminal learning.
Capoeira ASMR.
episodes.
Ready.
Yeah, exactly. So we just talk about like the good technique in movements, but in a very calming David Attenborough-esque voice, so that people can fall asleep to it.
Just have to whisper,
and then they wake up the next morning and their aous are really good. That'd be awesome.
Keep that leg straight during your meio de compasso. Your foot should be parallel to the ground.
That was pretty good, actually.
We're gonna do it.
Somebody, maybe it's out there now, but somebody needs to make a capoeira YouTube playlist of like the 30 minutes of the most amped up capoeira, just to amp you up for before you go to class the next time.
All the crazy Muzenza knockouts, all the
just a super
Ashe flips. Yes.
Oh, that would be sweet.
It's all a real supercut. Yep.
I like it.
Man, maybe we'll put something like that together. Like, I know I've listened to another podcast that's a cycling podcast, and a couple of the hosts there put together a little music playlist that's like, all right, when you're getting ready for a race, here's like 20 minutes of music to get you pumped up for the race, and it sort of builds slowly and then it crescendos at the end. We'll do the same thing with YouTube clips. So you can watch like a quick 10 minutes of YouTube before you go into the hall at the Bachisato to get your next chord. That would be sick.
Yeah, it should be just like a Chive TV of capoeira. All the fails, all the victories.
I like it. Capoeira fail reel would be pretty great, yeah.
Oh, man, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Also, I wish someone would describe our podcast as the Chive TV of capoeira. Then I
thought we already determined we were the View of capoeira.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We are the View.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a question.
Last minute thoughts. Is there something that we didn't touch on?
I had one.
Completely forgetting about.
We talked about, maybe not enjoying every class for your first 2 weeks. I would ask the question, in your guys' opinion, at what point, if you're not enjoying classes, do you think you should give up capoeira? How long into your training, if you're just, you're not enjoying it as much as you thought you would, or you're not enjoying it at all, or you think it's going to get to this point that you start to? How do you know a school or maybe the sport is not for you?
Well, it's super subjective to each individual. Are they getting out of the class what they thought they were going to, and how close is that meeting up, their expectation to the reality? And my suggestion is, if that's you and how you're feeling, you should talk to the instructor, either other students or the instructor, and say as much. Hey, I don't know if I'll continue, and here's why. And tell them, because one, they might be able to change that for you in the future, and you might start to love classes. Maybe they didn't realize you were looking for a certain experience. I don't know. I just think that's your last ditch effort before just walking out. I would just talk to him and see if there's something that, you can get differently out of the class, or a misunderstanding about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is super subjective to any individual out there.
If I were going to counsel a friend, like someone that I knew that I really cared about them having a good experience, I would say the two things to pay attention to are they having fun? And do they feel like they're progressing in some way? Do they feel like they want to learn the next thing? Or that the idea of getting better is attractive. If you're not having fun in the beginning, then it's like, well, man, it's going to be so hard to motivate yourself to go to the class. I've talked to so many students who are so enthusiastic about capoeira, and they just vanish after 3 weeks. There are so many obstacles to getting yourself to class. There's so many obstacles to just starting a new thing in your life. And so if you're not having a good time within the first couple weeks, I think that's something to pay attention to, because I think it's unrealistic to think that I can just power through on this. We one time had a girl at the studio who was very on again, off again for about a year. And she did get a chord at a bachillerato. And then after that, she was very psyched about her chord. And to make a huge commitment to make sure that she was going to come to class, she paid for an entire year of classes in advance. Mm-hmm. And she showed up for like 3 more classes, and then she disappeared.
Yeah.
Just gone. Like I'm not saying that's you, listener, but maybe it is. But it's just there's obstacles, right? And so if you're not having a good time, that's something to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is if you're not interested in making progress, you're interested in the next thing, I think also that means like, I'm not going to last long here. I'm going to burn myself out quickly.
Yeah, quick note to burnout. If you are starting more than one thing along with Capoeira, you're setting yourself up for failure. Like I had a super awesome guy who was a kind of on again, off again student, came back after like 3 years, wanted to get back into Capoeira and trained his butt off for the first week. And told me, like, his second day, he was extremely tired. I was like, you should sit out for a bit. What's going on? He's like, oh, well, I also just started this juice cleanse. I'm like on day 3 or 4 of a juice cleanse for like over a week. I'm God. Like, he's going to kill himself.
There. Anyone who starts a juice cleanse in my class,
no, he's so
gone. You're out of here.
He was super nice. I just felt so bad because he was just overdoing it, and his body was not. You're already going to be so tired and sore from Capoeira, and then on top of that, to restrict your diet extremely or something because you want to jump into this new weight loss or whatever, it's too much, and you'll fail at both of them. So take it easy, one day at a time on either, whatever you're doing. Just be careful not to throw it all at the wall and, have nothing left.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Definitely. I wouldn't change, like if you are in the mindset of I want to get fitter or I want to lose weight or something, I don't know that I would change my eating habits and pick up Capoeira all at the same time. That would be a little bit difficult. I think some people could manage it. I know that I personally couldn't. Like I would do exactly what you said, Azul. I would fail at both.
Yeah. Yeah, so, speaking from experience.
As Sukal would say, be wary about doing that.
Nice.
Yeah, I will say, it's not, Capoeira is not like, other things. It's not like picking up a new, workout routine or something. It's more, I think, of a commitment, both mentally and physically. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think being wary of, what your limits are as a human can be useful in that sense. But I agree with you, Evan, that, if you're not looking forward to the next thing in Capoeira or finding, some fun out of class and look forward to going, then it's not for you in the long term.
Guys, I just realized we didn't talk about how to spot a sleazy instructor.
Oh,
can we do that real quick?
Can we just make that the whole next episode?
No, give me your top 3 attributes. Top 3 attributes from each person.
We'll save this for next time.
Yeah, we won't go super into detail, but I think there are a couple of important things to keep in mind. I think one, just pay attention to your radar. Most people can identify sleazy people, but there are some sleazy instructors in Capoeira, and they have managed to stay in Capoeira for a long time. So evidently they are hoodwinking some folks. Mm-hmm. Man, Azul, I guess I should like cede the floor to you, because I feel like the number of times that I've been sexually harassed in Capoeira is very small. I think
it's fewer than me.
If we don't count all the times that Bonzinho always does it to me, but if we count,
you were asking for it.
It's an unfortunate reality, and you're right. Just like
I guess I shouldn't have worn that cute little outfit in front of you.
Wore the tank top to class, Evan. Come on, you're asking for it.
Oh my gosh, you guys. No, yeah. It's what you said. I mean, treat everybody respectfully around you and expect the same. And, the problem is it doesn't happen to people on their first day. Like, that is you'll sign up, and if it's going to happen to you and they're sleazy, it's not going to be, until a couple weeks in after you've been training a little bit, whatever, in my experience. So it's not like the instructor that first day is going to be a sleaze. So you really can't. But you can in their demeanor, how they treat other people, what kind of scene or crowd you're interested in. If you're a single capoeirista, just be careful, I guess. I don't know. I think they'll be fine, honestly.
I think you could actually gather a lot from the community or other people that are taking the class.
Right.
If the instructor is doing kind of shady things, I think people you're training with, if it's a large enough group, will probably be, vocal about that to you after a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And you can kind of get the lay of the land there and decide if the sleaziness level is too high or too low.
Or too low.
It's a slide.
Turn it up, would you?
Turn up the sleaze. That was a weird way to phrase that.
Could you turn it up? Next time I get a sleaze.
I feel like I'm not getting the true capoeira experience here.
That's terrible. I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
But tell me what your thought is, because that's honestly, I don't think it'll happen the first day, so it's hard to address.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you in the deer in the headlights.
I
don't know. Whatever I was trying to say. You got me. We're good. Yeah, you're cool over there. I'm cool. We're cool. No, I was going to say two things, somewhat facetiously, but somewhat seriously. One of them is be alert to the phrase, "Hey, can you stick around after class?"
Oh, I was going to say that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, can you come into my office?
Be alert to that phrase. That phrase can be as innocuous as it seems. It can't just be literally, "Hey, let's schedule you for your next class. You did a good job. Nice to meet you." But it can. That's, I think, how a lot of instructors try to kind of suss out, can I hit on this girl a little bit more than maybe I should? Is like, "Hey, can you stick around after class a little bit?" And then, some conversation. I should say that probably 99 out of 100 capoeira studios, it's going to be perfectly fine. And you're going to meet just the best people. They're going to be awesome. But that's a phrase to be alert for. And then the other one is, a lot of capoeira schools, like Azul said, it is kind of a family setting, or like a big party setting. And so a lot of schools, like if they have class on a Friday night afterwards, everybody's going to go out and go to the bar and hang out. And that's another good time to, just observe, see how the teacher behaves when you're not in the studio. Mm-hmm. And if you think it's a little bit sleazy there, then it's like, well, I don't know if I want to continue this. So that's a good place to do some recon, I think. Some
recon. No, that's good advice. You're right.
Yeah, I agree there.
All right. Yeah. Again, 99 out of 100. You're gonna have a great time. Definitely go out with them. It'll be awesome. Mm-hmm. You'll have a good time. All right. Last minute thoughts. Am I missing things we need to address?
Yeah, just don't be afraid to open yourself up to the community. And most capoeira groups have a pretty awesome social life outside of just the training. So if you're looking for that, I think there's also a lot of that can be, we used to invite people out, for our weekly dinner or drinks with new people. And that was a big thing that I think kept people around longer. So I think that kind of thing. And, having, weekend hodas and potlucks and things can go a long way to try to, feel like you belong in that community and look forward to going each week. So,
yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And if you're ever curious, Oh, go ahead.
No, Azul, I'm not trying to interrupt you. My bad.
I was going to change.
I apologize.
Nope. I was going to change the subject a little, so.
Okay. I will not change the subject. I will simply hang on to Bonzinho's coattails by saying, if the studio is having some kind of event like that, like, hey, on Saturday we're having a barbecue or we're going to go to dinner or something like that, if you can, try to make time to go to something like that, because it really will open you up to more of what capoeira is and what you can get out of the thing beyond just, hey, I get to learn some interesting movements and be a little bit more physically fit. There's so much there to offer. If you can make time in your schedule for those kinds of events, definitely do it. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if, and probably especially if they are doing a performance somewhere, and you get to watch them. I had a few new students that would do that. They didn't feel comfortable doing it, but they brought their families to see the performance, and that is just what hooked them when they get to see Capoeira live, and their family gets to see it, and other people. That's always really good. So encouraging them to go, or encouraging you to go to that.
Oh man, the last thing, I made a note to myself not to forget to say this, and I almost did forget. We've talked on the podcast. We think that Capoeira can be very intimidating. If you search it on YouTube, you're going to find just clips of superheroes defying gravity. Try not to be intimidated by that. That's not going to be your experience in that first class. It's not going to be, you're not going to have to learn how to do that kind of stuff. It won't be that at all. Like you're seeing, it's like as if you were, I don't know, you were like, oh, I want to learn how to do a science experiment for my kid. So I looked up a YouTube video and I got like a video of the best neurosurgeon in the world performing brain surgery. And I was like, oh, I can't do this science experiment. This brain surgery looks intense.
Yeah.
You're seeing when you go to the YouTube highlights and stuff, that's the best of the best. You're seeing the top 1%. Don't worry. Your experience will be something like that, but much more diluted, much friendlier, much easier to digest.
Yes. And if you need a friendly, supportive YouTube channel, never fret, my dear. Only the Strongest podcast is here. We're now on YouTube. Azul has turned her Capoeira channel now into the Only the Strongest. So you can listen to our podcast there live, and I will be posting a few more tutorials. And there's always going to be some basic helpfuls there.
Yeah.
Shameless plugging. Awesome. We're now on YouTube.
No,
bitches.
That's good. We're on YouTube.
There may be
very exciting.
A Capoeira supercut coming soon to that YouTube channel.
A supercut. Yeah. Maybe we'll do a video podcast even. You can see our ugly
It'll just be
here.
Capoeira Chive TV. I'm just going to have Capoeira fail videos constantly on the website.
There'll be a Bonzinho cut channel.
Yeah. Just
for hypage. Maximum hypage.
For hypage. I hope on the description you write only used for hypage purposes or something. That would be sweet.
Yeah, I'm going to go add that on there.
All right. Well, if you, the listener out there, would like to get in touch with us to show us your tattoo of Bonzinho's words, find us at onlythestrongestpodcast at Gmail or on the Instagram. Or now, newly, due to Azul's hard work, on the YouTube. Thank you very much for listening. Join us next time. Good luck in your first class. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.